Welcome to the Mudroom. Today we are talking about the gear that we used for our fast pack on the Wicklow Way in September of 2024. Of course, if you haven't seen the film yet, check that out first. And a lot of this is going to be similar to the stuff that we talked about in our recent video in the Mudroom about the gear that we carry for hut-to-hut fast packing. But we thought we'd still cover it again here. There were a few things that were a little bit different on this one, and we did have bag transfers as well. So we'll talk a little bit about the logistics for this trip in case you're interested in doing it yourself. Okay, starting with packs. Now, I used the Advanced Skin Cross-Season 15-liter pack, which I've talked about in the last couple of Mudroom videos. I didn't need this much capacity, but I did have a little bit of extra camera equipment, including a drone. We'll talk about that in a minute.
And because I wasn't carrying any camera equipment, I was able to run with only my 12-liter pack. So similar to what I would do for any full day in the mountains, basically, just to carry some waterproof and warm layers as well as a pack lunch.
And speaking of which, this is basically what we carried for the day. We have waterproof layers, and we each had a puffy jacket. Again, no surprises here. I had the Salomon Bonatti pants and the Salomon Bonatti waterproof jacket, along with the Arc'teryx Cerium SL puffy jacket. Now, this jacket hadn't been available for the last couple of seasons. Unfortunately, it has come back in stock. There's a new version of this available, along with the Venta glove from Arc'teryx, which I love. They're warm. They stay warm when they're wet. I've talked about these in other videos before. And the main reason we carried all this waterproof stuff, even though, it wasn't raining, but it definitely can rain in the Wicklow Mountains. And normally, as I said in the film, you can expect, unpredictable weather. And so this is the stuff we would always carry on any big mountain adventure, whether we're in the Dolomites, the Alps, or in the Wicklow Mountains of Ireland.
Yeah, like Jeff said, we got super lucky with the weather, but we were expecting some rain at least on one of the days. It didn't really manifest into anything too concerning. So in my kit, I had the Arc'teryx Norvan hoodie, the Arc'teryx Norvan pant, waterproof pant, and the same Cerium SL jacket, but mine is the hooded version. I really like having a hood for a little bit of additional warmth, and I did end up wearing it on the first morning because it was quite cold. And I have a lighter pair of gloves here, which is the Rogue gloves, which is a synthetic, super thin glove, super comfortable.
And as I said, even though we got quite lucky with the weather, we were prepared for the worst. And whenever in the mountains, we always travel with some basic necessities like a first aid kit. And inside of that, I have just a bunch of things pre-packed, including an emergency bivvy, which is basically a glorified space blanket that you can get inside in the worst case scenario. A little bit of blister care as well with an emergency knife, an emergency whistle, a little bit of extra lube. This is some Squirrel's nut butter that I can put on, midday in case I need to reapply. And we typically always carry our Garmin InReach Mini as well, just in case of emergencies. There was cell service for the most part in the Wicklow Way, but you never know. And then in addition to, I think we would start each day off with maybe about a liter of water from town, but we also each had a Salomon XA filter cap so that we could pull water en route.
Yeah, we weren't sure how many actual water fountains we would come across, so best to be prepared to pull water from creeks if you have to. And then I have my own separate little medical first aid kit, a little bit smaller and honestly mostly full of Band-Aids. I also had caffeine pills, salt pills, that sort of thing in there, and some bandages. And then we carried our passports just to have ID on us and for check-in at some of the B&Bs.
And then in my case, tucked away in my first aid kit, I was carrying the Nightcore NU25. We each had a small ultralight headlamp like this. We weren't planning on doing any running at night, but it's always good to have one just in case our days end up going a little bit longer, just in case of emergencies. Now, the route was quite well marked, but of course we were doing some sort of deviations. So we had our day planned out and we wanted to follow that plan. And it's always nice to know how much elevation change you have left, how much distance, of course, and as well to see the elevation profile. And so for that, I used the Coros Vertix 2S.
And I had the same routes uploaded to my Coros Apex 2 as well.
So we both had the route loaded on both of our watches. We could have sort of redundant turn-by-turn navigation and, of course, track our activities so that we could load it onto Strava at the end of the day. Now, I don't normally talk about camera gear, but I thought I would this time. Most of that film was shot on the GoPro Hero 12, and then I did have a couple of extra spare batteries that I would carry each day, and one spare memory card. I've got it on this little tripod handle, which I'll link to in the description below, along with my drone, the DJI Mini 3 Pro, and then each day I would carry at least one spare battery as well, and I was able to charge all of these batteries at our B&Bs in the evening. Then I also had my iPhone 15 Pro Pro, which I would have used for any of the sort of zoomed in shots of, say, Audrey running off in the distance. That was all filmed on the iPhone to supplement the GoPro footage, which is comparatively a little bit wider, but much more stable. And I do just want to reiterate that we had special permission. I had a permit to fly the drone in Wicklow Mountains National Park. We were partnered with Tourism Ireland. They helped us secure that permit, but normally you would not be allowed to do that. So as you can see, we were basically just carrying what you would normally carry for a big day out in the mountains. We didn't have any extra gear with us, any clothing for at night, because we had our luggage, literally our entire suitcases waiting for us at our B&Bs or our hotel each night, thanks to that luggage transfer service. We also had changes of clothes, you know, extra shirts and socks and shorts, so we were able to wear a fresh running kit each day as well.
Yeah, so we had extra run nutrition in our suitcases, so we were able to replenish for the next day. We also had protein shakes that we could take every evening before dinner, which was great. But another good use of the luggage transfer is the fact that I had my poles in there, which I did end up using only on the second day because we covered a long distance and did a lot of climbing, close to 2,000 meters that day, so it was worthwhile to have them. And these here are the Lecky FX1 Trail, which are super lightweight, really nice to use. But then I was able to ditch them again for the third day when I didn't need them, which was awesome.
And if you're interested in doing the route, check out wicklowway.com. They have information there about the route, about luggage transfers, about lodging. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out the other video that we recently published about what we normally carry for hut-to-hut fast packing. It includes some other considerations for logistics and safety for more remote routes as well.